Hey, what's going on, everybody? Manny here once again. Welcome to DFS Zone, your source for daily fantasy sport lineup advice for the NFL and the NBA. Brand new video for you guys today. We're going to discuss week 6 of the NFL, some possible plays at running back for us. But before I get started with the video, I appreciate you guys drop a like. It definitely will help my channel. And if you're new to the channel and as of yet have not subscribed to this channel, please do so down below. Put on your post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of my NFL videos or live shows or any of my NBA content as well as live shows. I do conduct an NFL live show Saturday nights at 7 p.m. right here on DFS Zone, and I will be conducting 4 live shows a week for the NBA 1 hour before lock, as well as the videos throughout the day. So we're going to cover NBA throughout the entire season, and the NFL so far we've been covering it all 5 weeks. 6 weeks right now. We're going to go all the way through the entire season, through playoffs as well. So a lot of content, a lot of information, a lot of videos, and a lot of live shows, an opportunity for us to interact as a community and become a very strong DFS community. So if you want to be a part of the community, again, subscribe down below, put on those post notifications. This way you don't miss out on any of that content. All right, week 6 NFL running backs. I'm not in love with a lot of these running backs this week, but I did spend some time to take a look at a few guys, and I am going to share with you a few guys I think are in play. We go first things first. I would like to go over the plays from last week. I always like to give a recap if it's your first time here, so this way it keeps me accountable for what plays I played on, as well as because when I give you guys these plays, I'm basically playing most of these guys myself. All right, so if they don't go well for you, they don't go well for me either. Melvin Gordon was my top running back last week, and he was my top scorer. 20 fantasy points. I think he put about 22, 23 on DK. Not a bad week. I did expect more. Remember, that was a high implied total game. It was, I think, 53, 54, and he only got 36 out of that game. So both teams played fairly good defense. Obviously, the Chargers' defense was so much more better than Oakland's. I was high on Oakland all week, as you guys know if you watch my videos, and they definitely disappointed. My 4 o'clock slate went down the drain with Breida going down, as well as those Oakland players not playing well. And then I had a couple of the Ram players, Cooper Kupp and Mr. Cook, and they both went down with concussions. So it was just a horrible 4 o'clock. Didn't do too well on the main slate. I did recover a little bit on the Monday slate. But Melvin Gordon, 20 points, best play there. Then I had Matt Breida. Matt Breida was going to have, looks like he was going to have a wonderful game. Easily, possibly, I think he was in position to get 20, maybe 25 fantasy points the way he was playing. He got hurt at the end of the first quarter, and he put up 12.6 fantasy points in the first quarter. Not too bad, but I wish he would not have gotten hurt. So Matt Breida was not that bad of a play. If he didn't get hurt, I think he would have put 20 or better. Aaron Jones was definitely a disappointment. Again, Green Bay did not utilize him. They're not taking advantage of this kid's talents. I think he's capable of running well between the tackles. I think he's pretty much the guy they really need as their steady running back, and they did not commit to it. Granted, they fell behind. You're going to have to always think that, but again, always, even if you fall behind by a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, you should never, in my opinion, just say to yourself, hey, you know what, let me not get someone involved that may be able to make some things happen for us and help us move the ball downfield. And I'm very, very surprised they did not use Aaron Jones as much. He only put up 6.9 fantasy points, so that was a disappointment there. But again, I shake it off. I know this is DFS. This is why I always say nothing's guaranteed. I don't care what anybody tells you. The games have to be played. These players have to play. Anything can happen in any given Sunday, as we all know. If you're a fan of sports long enough, you would know that's absolutely true. Anything can happen, and of course, we always have that potential of an injury that can cause serious, problems for the DFS player, like it did for me with Cooper Kupp, as well as Cooks and Breida going down on Sunday. But what can you do is just regroup, look at the new slate for the week, and then just make decisions for this week, and then just give it a shot again. So here we are. All right. So Gurley, Gordon, and McCaffrey, all these guys are pretty much in play. Gordon and Gurley are definitely in good spots. I like Gordon more. I gave you Gordon last week. I won't be on him again this week. I will have, and I'm willing to admit, I will have some exposure to Melvin Gordon. I think he's in a good spot here. Cleveland has had, 1 or 2 games where they gave us some big yardages to some dual threat backs, and I think that Mr. Melvin Gordon is in a good spot there. But I'm going to discuss James Conner, JC. I haven't played him all year. I think this is a great spot going up against Cincinnati in Cincinnati. And the only reasons I really like him here, one, he had a great game last week, which I spoke in the live show. If you guys were at the live show, I mentioned that some people had asked what I thought about James Conner. And you know what? I wasn't on him, and I explained the reasons why, because I didn't see him get the kind of opportunities and touches that I expect him to get after what he did in week 1. And they finally got him to play this week. They got him involved. Now, granted, the few times that they didn't put him, they didn't give him as many touches, is obviously they were playing from behind, so it totally changes the whole game plan. But they did what they needed to do here. He needs to get involved early. If he can run between the tackles, get a couple balls off the backfield right away early, get ahead, get up in front. As far as the lead is concerned, it makes it a lot easier to get this kid involved and be able to run that offense around him, as well as Antonio Brown and Juju Smith-Schuster. And that's what happened this past weekend against Atlanta. So I love the way he played this weekend. He's averaging 68.4 yards per game, 5 touchdowns. As you can see, 20.2 fantasy points here. He's 8,200 here, 7,700 on DK. Either one of the two sites, I had no problem with that price. 32.5 fantasy points this past week. That was a monstrous number. 21 rushes, 110 yards, 2 rushing TDs. Did cough up 1 fumble. Was 100% catch percentage. Was perfect. 4 targets, 4 receptions, 75 yards. And, you can see his floor is probably around 8. I always look at the fantasy points. His lowest number here has been 8. He hasn't really gotten into that level in the single digits since that game 2 games ago. He had 12, 17. He had a 31, so we know his upside is good. He's capable of getting you 30, 31, 31 to 32. And I'm sure he can get you in the 20s on a consistent basis if he's involved in the offense. And I think this is a great matchup simply because Pittsburgh needs to win. Again, they're facing the team in the division that's ahead of them, 4-1. They need this win. They can cut that deficit down to 1 game back, and it makes it a little bit more better for them to get them as they progress during the course of the season. But if they fall here and go to 2-3-1, and Cincinnati goes to 5-1, that's going to be a tough obstacle, and already down 1 game against the team that they got to face twice a year. It's going to be a tough obstacle for them to get back into this division if they fall out. So I think because of that, they need this gentleman here to get his touches and to give him an opportunity. So I expect him to have a big game, man. 85% of the snaps he gets. 85% of the snaps he gets. That is crazy. I mean, inside of 20, he's pretty effective. 12 of 29, 4 TDs, 80% rush percentage. He has a 90% rush percentage. Inside of 10, 20 yards, 9 rushes, 20 yards, 4 TDs. So his 4 touchdowns in the red zone have all come inside the 10. Love the numbers, man. Love the numbers. He gets about 22, 23 touches per game on average. So that's not too bad either. It's going up against Cincy. They're 23rd in rush defense, 118 yards per game they're giving up. Last game against Gore and, combined, Gore and Drake, Kenyon Drake finally got himself a game. But Gore and Drake put up over 160 yards or something like that. And I know they gave up about 180 plus to McCaffrey a couple weeks ago in Carolina. So we know that they are capable of giving up some big, huge yardage to dual threat backs. And I know Pittsburgh knows this, and they have the film. James Conner should be involved in this offense big this week. Versus running back Cincinnati, they've given up, they're 8th in the league and given up the most yardage, 502 yards from scrimmage thus far to running backs this year. That's 8th in the NFL. And they're also 8th in how many receptions and yardage they've given up to running backs as well. 287 total yards and 2 TDs. They're 7th in fantasy points given up to running backs, 24 on Fanduel and 28 DK points. That's 11th most in the NFL. Red zone opportunities, the opponents have been averaging 71.4% conversion rate in the red zone, getting 2.8 opportunities per game and putting in 2 touchdowns. Pittsburgh's offense has done well in the red zone as well, so that obviously favors well for Mr. James Conner and the Pittsburgh offense in general. 78.5% conversion ratio, 2.5 opportunities per game, 2 TDs in the end zone for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, I love James Conner here in this matchup. I think this is a big game. I think they need him. I think they're going to utilize him. So he is someone that I like this week. Out of that top tier guys, he's the one that I'm favoring this week. I think he has the best possible matchup and a game that is very important for the Pittsburgh Steelers right now, just starting the second quarter of the NFL schedule. Down here, I think Zeke Elliott is probably someone that I might consider as well. Maybe have some exposure to him. I like the fact that they're going up against Dallas. He is their main offensive weapon. He's a dual threat back. And Jacksonville's had 1 or 2 games with Barkley and someone else they gave up quite a bit of yardage to. I like the possibility of Zeke Elliott. Down here, Mixon, Yeldon, these guys are all in play. Crowell, I think, could be a good play, especially on DK. I think he's 5,000 on DK. He's 67 here. But I'm going to go all the way down to Chris Carson, man. I like Chris Carson for Seattle, 6,400. He's 4,400 on DK. I love that price on DK, 4,400. They're starting to get the running game going again in Seattle. And Chris Carson, it looks like he is definitely the guy who's going to take the load. As you can see, in the last 2 games, over 100 yards. He's averaging 73.3 yards per game, 1 touchdown. That's the only drawback. Only little blemish there is not enough TDs. And that's why his fantasy point total is not high. But he is running the ball between the tackles very well. They're getting him involved. It'll be great to see him get some more targets out of the backfield because I think he can definitely handle that as well. And they're going to need to. They don't have a lot of explosive weapons here. But Lockett and Doug Baldwin are going to be just fine. I'm not too sold on their tight end position. So Chris Carson is a big integral part of this offense, and he's showing it as of late. Last 2 games, like you see there, 100 yards per game. He has 3 targets, 3 receptions, 33 yards. He gets about 52% of the snaps at 73.3 yards per game. That's about 4.6 yards per carry. So not bad at all. Inside the 20 in the red zone, he's done fairly well there. He's gotten 4 carries for 12 yards and a touchdown. And in the side of 10, he has had 3 rushes for 10 yards and a touchdown. And what I also like is that Seattle's really starting to get more involved with that running game. They're utilizing the running game 47% of their plays. 47%. They run 28 rushes per game combined, not only with Chris Carson and, of course, with Russell Wilson and anybody else that comes in there, Penny and so on, and Mr. Davis as the other running back. These guys are all getting some touches, but this is the man right now that I think is going to be their lead back. He's in a good matchup here. They're going up here against Oakland, who is 28th in rush defense this year, giving up 127.2 yards per game, 6 touchdowns, 4.9 yards per carry, and this gentleman is averaging 4.6, so pretty much 5 yards apiece. So give or take, something's got to give here. Is either they're going to shut him down or he's going to get at least 4 or 5 yards per carry or better. Versus running backs, they have also given up 208 yards. They have given up 230 yards total yards to running backs with 18 receptions out of the backfield with 2 TDs. DK, 30.2 DK fantasy points and 26.6 Fanduel points. Quite a bit of points, man, to a running back position Oakland has had. They also have given up some big yardages to a couple of players, to a couple of teams. The Browns got 208 yards off him between Chubb and Hyde a couple of weeks ago. And with Duke Johnson as well as Baker Mayfield. All 4 of them combined, 208 yards. So we know that there's an opportunity for Carson and company to do very well here. In the red zone, Oakland has done okay in the red zone. They have holding down opponents to 50% conversion, 3.5 opportunities per game. They're only scoring a touchdown in the field goal, and Seattle comes in, pretty much needing to do just that. They're at 50% as well. Getting 3 opportunities in the red zone and getting only a touchdown in the field goal. So they need to improve in that area. Something's got to give here. Is either they're going to shut down Seattle, not give them that many opportunities in the red zone. I really do believe that they'll be able to move the ball on Oakland, as well as some of the other teams have done this year. And the way they have played as of late, Seattle is really starting to get that offense going. I like Chris Carson here. I think he's a definitely good play at 6,400, especially at DK for 4,400. My next guy that I'm going to discuss, probably a little bit under the radar this week. I don't know. Jordan Howard, 6,200 here. He is expensive on DK. I do not like his price on DK. 6,500 on DK is $300 more expensive there. And we know that DK is a different platform. There's 50,000 budget, while 60,000 for you here on FanDuel. So that price is a bit too high for him on DK, but I guess DK really sees that there is the only thing you get out of that is, and that's what I get, the information I get out of that is that they know that the PPR and the possibilities of maybe him getting 100 yards and getting that bonus is a good possibility in this game. and they know about that, and that's one of the reasons why their price is a little bit more up. I assure you that's the case. So Jordan Howard is not a bad play, especially at 6,200 here on Fanduel. He's averaging only 50.8, 51 yards per game, only 1 touchdown, 9.8 fantasy points per game. I'm not going to really gauge him on just strictly his fantasy point totals. I really do like fantasy points, but I like the matchup here. He only had 11 rushes for 25 yards in the last game and 1 target, only 2.5 fantasy points. But they just were bombing away, and they started blowing. I mean, they had huge pass plays. He didn't even have to touch the ball much more than 12 plays in that game with Tampa Bay. So again, that was the Mitch Trubisky show. But nonetheless, everything's going to come back to normal. They're going to start. Remember, this team definitely bases their offense off the run a little bit. They run 45% of their plays are running plays, and they have about at least 29 to 30 running attempts per game. So they're gonna definitely run the ball a little bit. Trubisky's gonna run a little bit. Howard's gonna run a little bit. So I expect him to do well here. He's had 12 targets, 10 receptions, 78 yards, something that I didn't discuss. And like I said, 9.8 fantasy points. His floor is about 3 in the last game, but I'm not going to even count that game due to the fact that they were blowing out the other team with passes. But 8.3 is probably his floor. Obviously, we see that he's capable of getting 15. I truly believe he can get 20, and I truly believe he can get 100 total yards combined, all-purpose yards in this game against this team. I really, truly believe he could be a very sneaky play here for the Chicago Bears. Miami is 20th in rushing defense, 109 yards per game. They're giving up 4 TDs. Miami has been having really difficulty just, shutting down dual threat running backs that definitely get out of the backfield and catch some balls. 36 receptions thus far against them this year, 294 yards, 3 TDs. That's 6th most in the NFL, giving up 32.3 DK points and 27.1 Fanduel points. That's the 6th most in fantasy points to running backs thus far this year in the NFL. In the red zone, Miami, they're doing pretty well in the red zone, keeping opponents 41% conversion rate. They're getting in there 3.5 times a game, still quite a bit, but they're only scoring 1 TD and 1 field goal. The Chicago Bears in the red zone, 57.8% conversion ratio, 3.5 opportunities as well. So both teams, Chicago's been able to get in the red zone 3.5 times a game, and Miami's been coughing up 3.5 times a game. So we're going to see when they buckle up, which way is going to go right now. Obviously, the advantage is with the Bears. They're averaging 2 touchdowns on 3.5 opportunities. So, again, I think Jordan Howard is a very good sneaky play here. I could see him getting 2 or 3, maybe as much as 4 targets out of the backfield and getting at least his 15 to 20 touches, rushes in the backfield. So Jordan Howard's in play. Again, there'll be some other guys that I'm actually been looking at. That I will discuss by Saturday. I mean, obviously this possibility that Latavius Murray, you got to consider him against Arizona. Arizona's giving up the most fantasy points to running back. I just don't love Latavius Murray, but then again, it's not a matter of loving him. It's a matter of, is there going to be an opportunity for him in a huge game? And obviously there is that possibility. So he's someone to consider. Other than that, I mean, down here in the bottom tier, I always like Allen for the red zone. Tough matchup with Tennessee. Tennessee is tough against the run. So is Baltimore. That's going to be more of a defensive-minded game. Definitely one of those teams you can go defense. I definitely probably prefer Baltimore. But again, I mean, the top-tier guys, like I said, Melvin Gordon, Gurley is definitely in play. I like Connor, like whom I discussed. So my plays right now are Connor, Howard, and Chris Carson. And I think on DK you could roll the dice a little bit on Isaiah Crowell of the Jets. I think he's a fine play, and I kind of like Ezekiel Elliott here as well. So maybe someone that I will touch upon on Saturday night's live show. But that's pretty much what I got for you guys, man. So drop a like on the video. Again, if you have not subscribed to the channel, you want to continue getting this information, definitely subscribe down below. Become part of the family. Become a part of the community. Let's become DFS zoners, very strong DFS community, and basically with that, man, that is. I'll see you guys in the next video. Next video will be the